I talk a lot in my videos and in my upcoming book about the collapse of Western civilization, the fact that it is happening right now, and it has been occurring for a number of years, if not decades, and has accelerated in the last couple of years. I also try to theorize on what may come next. I think it's impossible to deny now, for anyone who's who is honest with themselves and who has the merest the merest ability to be able to observe the world around them. I think it's very, very difficult to deny that society is not collapsing at the moment. I think you can see it all around. I certainly see it all around anyway. However, if we want one lens to focus on that maybe demonstrates with clarity the collapse of Western civilization, Western liberal values, the demise of Britain. It is the last few days and the reaction to the death of the Queen. Now, I did a video, I think it was the next day. Was it the next day the Queen died? I can't remember. A few days ago anyway. Just talking about how for me her death was symbolic, and I still stand by that. In terms of loss of an idea I was talking about, and a memory of good times gone by, counterpointed with a vision of a dreadful and dark future that I know a lot of people have got at the moment. Now, I did expect when the Queen died, I thought there would be a series of protocols, most of which I wouldn't be aware of, that would probably be quite interesting, but ultimately just more theatre really. Ceremony and pomp is what the UK is known for, so I expected that. I expected I did expect the 24-hour news coverage over a series of days. I expected the similar scenes to what we saw in the wake of the death of Princess Diana as well. What I didn't expect, and maybe this was me being naive actually, was the absolutely unhinged and deranged coverage. Now, I don't know why I'm letting this surprise me, because the ability that the media has to be able to direct the public's attention to wherever it needs to go in order for them to be consumed by just one thing, in order for them to be distracted, in order for them to ignore other important things that are going on behind the scenes. The ability that the media has to do that still is absolutely astounding. We can see that visualized in these 5-mile long queues to go and pay respects to the Queen. That many people have not been mobilized in the last couple of years when fundamental human rights have been at stake. The hyper focus on the apparent mourning and grief that we're all supposed to be feeling at the moment, for me, is quite disturbing. Now, grief primarily, I'm not going to say that, for me, grief is personal and it's different for every person. And I think with grief, no one has the right to say to any other person that they shouldn't be grieving about whatever it is, whether it's the death of a loved one, the death of a pet, or even the death of someone they didn't know, like the Queen. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say, though, is I find it very, very mawkish. I find it very, almost sinister, very... It's like a deliberate attempt, again, by the establishment and media to hypnotize people into a certain state, this time of grief, utter deference and servitude and bereavement. We first saw this phenomenon, this unusual and quite macabre phenomena, in the UK with the death of Princess Diana. Now, I liked Princess Diana, and the more I've learned about her, the more I think, yeah, she was. But I think it marked a turning point, that period of time, particularly in the UK, around the mid to late 90s. I think it marked a real turning point away from a confident, culturally rich, intellectually rich, politically sensible country to one that over the years became consumed by image, by narcissism, by argument, by division, prompted primarily by Tony Blair's New Labour and that World Economic Forum style of politics, which has been a slow transfer of wealth to large corporations, which has been an erosion of national confidence, which has been a destabilisation and a demoralisation in the minds of the masses. That's been going on for a long, long time now, and I believe that was Tony Blair was brought in to start the process of doing that. We live in times, as I've argued many times before, that are very dominated by feelings override everything. So we've seen in the last couple of years, as long as people feel safe, they don't need to define what it is that they think the threat is. They've not defined what level of threat is, what it actually is they're scared of. And it didn't matter that they were safe or not, as long as they felt safe. We see it with police arresting people for offending people's feelings. Offence. To give offence now is to commit crime. Offence can never be given, only taken. And when I was seeing it with people feeling either that they have to be part of this very strange, orchestrated process of grief, or it's just really fake. I don't know whether there's a phenomena really of people, a lot of people in that queue going to see the Queen's coffin. And again, if people want to go, I'm not casting any judgment at all, but who's truly sad about the death of the Queen? I mean, I think a lot of people, I'll say me included, I did it in the video, I was a little bit sad on Thursday. I was like, as I say, she reminded me of both of my nanas. I thought, yeah, death of Western liberal society is just symbolised, really. Not actually her death has resulted in it, but just symbolically. Who's really sad? And because for those who know what grief is, what true grief is, and that it is personal, I'm not sure, I'm not convinced that this outpouring of national emotion that we're seeing primarily centred in London, I'm not sure it's genuine. In most cases, I get the sense that yet again, it's something for let's say those who struggle to think for themselves and who struggle to have meaning in their lives. It's something for them to attach to. So whether that was the the cause to overturn Brexit, which we sort of talked about, whether that was the lockdowns, the masks and the jabs, whether that was the Ukraine-Russia narrative, whether it's climate change. There is a particular type of person who, when the establishment goes, believe that, it literally doesn't matter what it is, they will do it. I think we're seeing yet again. We're seeing that. In what other ways does this symbolise the death of Britain as we thought we once knew it? Well, for those who, and this is quite interesting, but let's call them, I would say probably most people who identify as Republican, or possibly a lot of them would also identify themselves as of the extreme left. It's just the impression I get. Socialists, or let's try not even to define them politically. Let's just go, because I was going to talk about free speech. And what I was going to say was, we've known for a long, long time, those of us who are paying attention, that there's only certain opinions that are permitted. Free speech does not exist in this country. We do not have a free press and free media in this country. There are punishments for saying things that are not permitted by the establishment, whether that's just having a video on YouTube taken down, or whether you actually end up getting arrested and going to jail. We do not live in a free country. And I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks that they are free and that they live in the free democratic West, it is just completely, they're not living in the real world. Now, we've seen that, haven't we? We've seen in the last couple of years the right to protest has been removed and has not been fully restored. We saw that with the anti-lockdown rallies at the start, and that continued when people went out protesting. The only reason why, as I've argued before, the temporary halt of this tyranny that's taken over the planet was brought about in this country and across the world, was because those protests became so large that it was impossible for the police to arrest everybody. So it just collapsed. But we still see the online censorship. But we're seeing some very disturbing things happening with people, holding up signs saying abolish the monarchy, or heckling Prince Andrew. I mean, who wouldn't heckle Prince Andrew? Being dragged from crowds, being arrested. I mean, that is sinister. That is utterly sinister. Freedom of speech includes the right to mock. It includes the right to shout things against the head of state. It includes the right to be disrespectful and offensive. Now, this is the thing about freedom of speech. Whether people like the Queen or not, loathe the royal family or not, most people would either not go to the lining of the street when the coffin's passing by, or would go and not say anything anyway. This is the thing about freedom of speech, is that most people actually do have an ability to judge what to say and when. That's just a natural part of being aware of your surroundings. However, if somebody does want to shout something that others may term disrespectful, and that others may completely agree with, particularly with the some of the things that have been said about the royal family, that is their right. So free speech, as many have said, once free speech is taken away, then the path to utter darkness and destruction opens up. And do not be fooled, and I'm sure none of you are. We do not live in a world, in a country that protects free speech. Free speech is under huge threat constantly. The other thing that I want to talk about is the deference and servitude that is being shown by many. As I say, I was ambivalent towards the Queen. I don't like the royal family, but I didn't class myself as one of their subjects. I didn't view myself as being ruled over by the Queen, and I certainly don't class myself as one of now King Charles's subjects. And he has no power over me. Absolutely not. The level of deference and servitude that still exists is interesting to watch. Now, the whole discussion about the monarchy and whether it's a force for good, a force for bad, it should be abolished, It should be preserved. From what I can see, it's exceptionally complex. I am more leaning along the lines of winding it up. But I'll be honest with you, I've not properly explored and researched what potential, I can think of a number of negatives and drawbacks related to the monarchy. A number, primarily their involvement in the deep state attack on all of us. But you look at the way the constitution in the UK operates, and I don't know, and how many countries around the world who have heads of state are probably in a better place than other countries that don't. So I don't. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm ignorant really of the reasons and the possible benefits. However, as I say, I am in servitude to nobody, no individual, no organisation, no political group, no royal family, no king or queen. And I find it interesting that the level of deference that is still being shown en masse by many. So there's some thoughts for me on what the death of Queen Elizabeth II and the ascension to the throne of King Charles III and the reaction to it, mostly manufactured reaction via the media, says about society, says about people. Again, no particular comment from me on the actual on Queen Elizabeth. I'm just talking again about the what does the reaction of the masses say about our society at the moment, and how confused and bereft of meaning and demoralized it is, and hypnotized it is. So let me know in the comments below whether you agree with any of my observations there, and please don't forget to subscribe, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.